Hello students. Yesterday we have seen some conceptual problems related to dual nature of radiation and matter. As I've told you that this chapter is very important to connect two of the branch of the physics, that is the classical branch and modern branch. Classical branch means wave mechanics and modern branch means quantum mechanics. So both of the branch is connected by the dual nature of radiation and matter, and already de Broglie worked on that, and some of the scientists that predicted the quantum nature of the particle. Means here we have seen a lot of new things, new concepts, and prove about that concept. So that is a total new world for the physics. Is started from here. So here a lot of conceptual problems you have that can be asked in your examinations, and yes, from this chapter a number of conceptual problems uh, been asked in the examinations. So that's why I just focused on the conceptual problem for this section. So let's see some more conceptual problem. After that I will uh, explain you some numerical problems, then how can we solve it. Actually the numerical problems regarding to this chapter is easy than the conceptual problems. So that's why first let's see all of the conceptual problems. Yesterday we have seen the conceptual problems regarding to the photoelectric emission and photons, and today let's see some conceptual problems regarding to the de Broglie hypothesis. As you have seen that de Broglie proposed the dual nature, like the radiation for the matter also, means matter particles like proton, neutron, and electrons, that are the matter particles through which matter is composed of, and that matter particles are also possess uh, means they also possess uh, dual nature, means like they can behave like particle and wave. Means if depending on the condition, and as for the radiation, just like for the matter. So matter and radiation can be connected also through this phenomena. As you know that matter particles have very less velocity than the photons or radiations, but we can connect these two phenomena. Means we can connect relativistic and non-relativistic phenomena. Non-relativistic phenomena means the particles which has velocity much less than c, means velocity of light, they are called non means that all phenomena are known as non-relativistic phenomena. And relativistic phenomena are those for which comparable to c, means all the particles which are uh, moving nearly equal to velocity of light. So there are new types of effect is showing. Means we have the concept of that moving mass, length contraction, time dilations, and such types of things we have there. So but when we are talking about v much less than c, for that case we take time as a constant. Means as time is associated with our earth, and with our three-dimensional earth, time is fourth dimension that is associated, that is not, we are not able to use this fourth dimension as we are using the space dimension, other three dimensions. So that phenomena explains all the things about that how can we use this fourth dimension, and what will be the effect, like what will be the concept of time travel and other things. So these are the broad things I just want to give a brief about that. Means what is the importance of this concept, and where it is started. So here in this today in the topic I have just taken the conceptual problems first regarding to de Broglie wavelength and de Broglie hypothesis. So as you know that de Broglie hypothesis is for the matter particles. Means he proposed that always there is a wave associated with any matter particle when it is in motion. So due to their motion, there can be a wave associated with that. Means particle and wave nature can be uh, associated with each other, and it depends on the phenomena, that which phenomena can be explained on the basis of particle and which phenomena can be explained on the basis of wave. So both the natures are complementary actually. So the problem here is that a proton and a neutron have same de Broglie wavelength. Which of them move fast, and which possesses more kinetic energy? So this is the problem to compare the de Broglie means compare their velocities and kinetic energy with the help of de Broglie wavelength. So we have a formula for the de Broglie wavelength, that is lambda is equal to h upon p. This formula we have. So here we can write also p is equal to h upon lambda. So as it is given that both of the particles have same kinetic, same de Broglie wavelength. So if lambda is same for both of the particles, h is already a constant, then we can say that this can be constant. It means that simple P1 must be equal to P2. Suppose P1 is the momentum of proton and P2 is the momentum of electron. So we can write it easily from this equation. So we can write in place of this, mass of proton into velocity of proton is equal to mass of electron into velocity of m into v. Okay. So from here we can write mp upon me, that will be equal to v upon vp. As you know that mass of proton is greater than mass of electron, so we can write that mp upon me, that will be greater than 1. And from this equation we can say that if this will be greater than 1, then from this equation obviously ve upon vp, that will be also greater than 1. So from this equation we can easily see that v will be greater than vp. You can write it here, v will be greater than vp. Clear? Means velocity of electron is greater than velocity of proton. We can justify our answer by using this de Broglie wavelength formula. So our first question was that which of them moves fast? Means electron moves fast. Clear? So the next case is that we have to show which of them possesses more kinetic energy. So again we have a formula for de Broglie wavelength in terms of kinetic energy, that is lambda is equal to h upon under root 2mk. Clear? This formula we have. I have already told you the number of formula regarding to the Broglie wavelength. Means we can formulate the Broglie wavelength in terms of kinetic energy, in terms of voltage supplied, and in terms of momentum, velocity and other things. We can easily calculate it. So from here we can write k equal to h square upon 2m lambda square. Clear? So as in this equation it is given that already de Broglie wavelength is constant, means lambda is constant, 2 is already constant, h square is already a constant. Then we can write from this equation that k will be inversely proportional to m. So if according to this equation we can write kinetic energy of proton upon kinetic energy of electron, that will be equal to mass of electron upon mass of proton, as they are inversely proportional. Clear? Now again we know that mass of electron is less than mass of proton. Me is less than mp, or in other words we can write me upon mp will be less than 1. So this quantity will be less than 1. So it means that kinetic energy of proton will be less than the kinetic energy of electron. It's very simple. Clear? It means that electron will have more kinetic energy in this system. So this is a very simple problem. I think that is very clear to you. How can we compare velocities, kinetic energies and other terms with the help of this wavelength for the de Broglie. So I think that problem, this problem is totally clear to you. So if this is clear to you, then let's see some next conceptual problem. The conceptual problem is regarding to the Bohr model. As you have already known that uh, Bohr has explained the atomic model with the help of quantum theory, with the help of Planck's theory, and already de Broglie also used Planck's idea to explain the dual nature or behavior of the particles, means that they are possessing dual nature, and he used for the quantum nature the Planck formula. So both of the formulas are used the same law, and the Broglie wavelength or the Broglie hypothesis can be also used to verify the Bohr's second law, Bohr's law of quantization, which was that uh, first law is that simple, electrons are revolving in a certain circular orbits, that is known as stationary orbit. And second law of quantization is known as electrons will revolve only in those orbits for which their angular momentum will be integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So this is a condition imposed on the motion of electrons, movement on or simple, this is a condition for the orbit which can be there present for the electrons for their motion. Means like Rutherford told us that electrons can move in every circular orbit, but no, due to that there was the problem of existence of atom. So to remove that problem, Bohr posed a limitation, and that limitation is known as Bohr law of quantization. So that law of quantization can be proved with the help of de Broglie wavelength or de Broglie hypothesis. So let's see how can we prove it. Even I have told you this in the case of atom, but still one more time, let's see that. So the problem is that I haven't actually written it. Just I have explained you that we have to prove the Bohr second postulate with the help of de Broglie wavelength. So as you know that the de Broglie wavelength is for any electron moving in any orbit, that is h upon mv. Clear? So if suppose that electron is moving in any circular orbit or any nth orbit, we don't know that what is that orbit, that can be 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So this is the de Broglie wavelength associated with the electron moving in any orbit. And also de Broglie told a limitation that electrons can revolve only in those orbits for which their circumference is the integral multiple of lambda. So this was also a condition given by the de Broglie. We know only the condition that is given by the Bohr, but this problem is also solved by de Broglie, but we haven't seen that. So de Broglie told us that the electron can revolve only in those circular orbit or only on those orbit for which the circumference of, as they are revolving in circular orbits, so that's why they will have some circumference, and their circumference must be equal to integral multiple of lambda. So this is the condition, just like the Bohr, that angular momentum should be the integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So de Broglie imposed this condition, and suppose Rn is the radius of the nth orbit, and obviously the circumference will be 2 pi Rn, and that will be equal to some n lambda. So from here we can calculate the value of lambda. So that will be lambda is equal to 2 pi Rn divided by n. We can use this here. So what will be the final value? 2 pi Rn divided by n, that will be equal to h upon m into Vn. So multiply m into Vn this side, and to rest of the things take this side. So we can write here m Vn Rn, that will be equal to nh upon 2 pi. Clear? So this is the angular momentum, and this is equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So this was the concept of Bohr. This is the Bohr's second postulates, which is the angular momentum for any revolving electron in any circular orbit, that will be always an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So where n can have value 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. It can have only the integral values. So I think that is the simple clear, and that's why it is known as quantization law for the uh, atomic orbits. So I think there is no problem, and still if you, I just asked one more question here regarding to this. Suppose I have asked you if in hydrogen atom, state the ratio of any or means ratio of the radius of orbit in which any electron is revolving, and obviously it is revolving, then moving, then there will be the association of a de Broglie wavelength is this. So find the ratio of radius and de Broglie wavelength for the hydrogen atom revolving in any nth orbit. So what will be the answer here? We have to calculate Rn upon lambda. Okay. So as I have told you this formula, this is for the de Broglie wavelength, this is its condition. So with the help of this, we can easily define what will be the condition, what will be the ratio. So this will help us to also calculate it. So here Rn upon lambda, that will be n upon 2 pi. So this is also a problem which can ask you in examination. That is the problem for related to de Broglie concept, which we have already means we already focused on the Bohr quantization formula, but this formula is also important, and there can be some questions regarding to this like this. So I think there is no confusion still for the de Broglie wavelength and Bohr quantization, that can be related easily, and that two scientists all worked on the atomic model and orbits of the model. So that's why I think there is no confusion still there. So if this is clear, then let's see some more conceptual problem. I think today we need to see some more conceptual problem. After that we will study about the numerical problems. So the next problem is also related to de Broglie formula and de Broglie wavelength. Like as I have told you that some of the problems can be conceptual, that can be asked directly, and some of the problems can be asked with the help of some graphs. So you already have the clear concept about the graphical forms, as I even taught you the graphical form of the de Broglie, means different graphs between different factors and variables in case of photoelectric emission and case of de Broglie. So I think there is no confusion regarding to that, but still I have just to take example for the graphical that. So here we have a graph that is between lambda and 1 upon root p. So where v is the accelerating potential for two charged particles A and B. So there are two charged particles which are moving, and for which we have plotted a graph between accelerating potential and lambda like this, and this graph is like this. So we have to explain which particle had the heavier mass, means which particle will be more massive. So we have to explain that. So I think question is simply clear to you. We can easily solve it, as it is the relation between accelerating potential and wavelength. So we can use the formula for de Broglie wavelength, which is related to wavelength, de Broglie wavelength and accelerating potential. So this formula is lambda is equal to h upon under root 2 me into v. So as you know this formula already, that can connect the de Broglie wavelength to the accelerating potential directly. As I have told you the form of de Broglie wavelengths, we can calculate it easily. So from this equation, as this is the curve for this both, and we can say that lambda is inversely proportional to m, and it is already clear that lambda is inversely proportional to root b. So from this expression it is simply clear that as lambda is greater for b than a, means lambda b is greater than lambda a. So from this expression it is very simply clear that mb will be less than ma. Clear? Because there is inverse relationship between wavelength and this mass, and already this relationship has been given here, so we have to use this relation, and with the help of this we can easily tell this, because as you are seeing that for b particle lambda is greater than a, so that's why if lambda is greater than a, then definitely from this relation mass of a will be greater than mass of b, so a particle will be the heavier particle in this case. So we can compare two particles, two photo materials or other things with the help of these formula. So first we have to see what is our problem. We have to see that the graph is shown in between which of the variables. With the help of that we can use formula, like here it is easily given that it is the graph between lambda and p, so we can use this formula, and already with the help of this we can actually this is very easy, you can even solve it with the any help of any formula, but still if there is given this, like if you want to use lambda is equal to h upon under root 2 mk, this is also formula for de Broglie wavelength, we can use this formula also. So for this first we have to see k is equal to e into b, and after that we can they see that whether it is depending on this factor or not this factor, so after that we can say anything about this. So I think there is no confusion regarding to this you have. So means a will be the heavier than the b. So this concept is I think clear then. So let's see some more concepts, some more problems based on this. I think today I will not be able to straight the numerical problems here. So let's see first some conceptual problem, later I will tell you the numerical problems. So the next problem is also related to the de Broglie concept. This is very actually good and important conceptual problem. The first problem is that what consideration led de Broglie to suggest that material particle can also show the wave property. So this is the very basic concept. Already we have known that only de Broglie have suggested that matter particles can show both types of property, means particle nature and wave nature. So already material particles has the particle means they had particle nature, but the question is that the reason behind the proposition of dual nature of matter, means what is the idea, what is the concept behind that. So here the answer of this question is that as nature loves symmetry, and de Broglie already seen that matter particles can be converted into energy and vice versa, means they can be converted into energy and energy can be converted into mass, as this is told by the Einstein's mass energy equivalence, easily we can say that. So with the help of that he is concluded that nature loves symmetry, and also if particles are converted into some form of energy, and energy can be explained in the on the basis of wave property, so that's why matter particle will also show the wave property. So that was the reason behind the consideration of wave nature of the matter particles. So I think and that is simple, clear to you. Means symmetry means simple, if some of the particles is converted into the wave property, then definitely it will have some wave property, or if any energy or wave is converted into the particle, then definitely that wave will have some particle property. Means both of them is simple, the matter particle will have both of the property, already they are particle and they will also possess the wave property. So dual nature is arises from this concept, and even you can say that Einstein's mass energy equivalence lesson helped in this in many math ways. So that is also very important relation, and also the concept regarding to that. So I think there is no confusion regarding this. So next question is also with the help of it is also related to de Broglie wavelength. This question is that why are the de Broglie waves with a moving football not visible? So if we see we are already moving, and if we see our moving foot or other things like the macroscopic bodies, so this question can be also asked in other way, like in daily life why cannot we observe the de Broglie wavelength? This question be like this also. So in our daily life, as our eyes are sensible for some macroscopic bodies, means the bodies which have some definite mass or greater mass which can be measured. So from the help of de Broglie wavelength, we have the formula lambda is equal to h upon mv. So if mass is greater, then definitely the de Broglie wavelength associated with that particle, that will be smaller. So with macroscopic property which have greater mass, which have mass in kg, gram and other things, like means they have greater amount of mass, then they will have the associated de Broglie wavelength that will be very small, and that cannot be observed with our naked eye, or obviously in our daily life we cannot observe the de Broglie wavelength due to this factor. So I think that is simple, clear to you why in our daily life we cannot observe de Broglie wavelength. So this problem is simply related with the help of this, means greater will be the mass, less will be the de Broglie wavelength. So if de Broglie wavelength is going to be less and less, then how can we observe that? So that's why for stellar bodies, for in our daily life, like we are macroscopic bodies, we have some mass in kg, means that is the greater, I think, unit. As in for the case of particle, we have the mass in the order of 10 power minus 27 kg minus 31 kg, means they are very lighter particles, and they have very less mass, then definitely they will have greater de Broglie wavelength associated with them. So we can observe the de Broglie wavelength in that case, in case of microscopic particle, but in case of macroscopic bodies it is impossible to observe the de Broglie wavelength. So that's why in our daily life we don't experience anything about the de Broglie wavelength. One more problem is also related, means the problem is same, only the language and the way of question can be different. So the question can be also why we cannot observe de Broglie wavelength in case of non-relativistic means cases. So as I've told you that what is relativistic and what is non-relativistic case. So for the relativistic case, particle will have velocity much less than c, and for non-relativistic case, particle will have velocity greater than means comparable to c, and obviously the particle which have velocity nearly equal to c, they have very smaller mass. Even we can easily see that with the help of formula m is equal to m0 root 1 minus v square by c square. With the help of this formula we can see that what will be the case if velocity will be less, then definitely this whole quantity will be greater. If denominator will be less, then definitely whole of the quantity will be greater. So means the particles which have velocity much less than c, means the case of non-relativistic, then for that case the mass of the particle will be greater. We can also say calculate this or also explain this with the help of this formula. So if velocity is less than c, then definitely this whole quantity will be greater, and for that means their masses will be greater. So if mass is greater, then definitely just I've told you and I've explained you this, means if mass will be greater, then de Broglie wavelength associated with that particle, that will be smaller, and we cannot observe that in our daily life. So that's why non-relativistic cases, in case of non-relativistic, we cannot observe de Broglie wavelength. So this question can be also asked in some other ways. I think there is no confusion. And in case of relativistic case means, as you know that for relativistic case V is comparable to C. So if V is comparable to C, then from this expression we can say that this whole quantity will be greater, and due to greater denominator, mass of the particle that will be smaller. So if mass will be smaller, it means that simple the de Broglie wavelength associated with it will be greater. So we can observe easily that wavelength associated with this particle. So for relativistic case, de Broglie wavelength can be easily observed, or simple in other way word we can say that for lighter particle we can observe de Broglie wavelength, but for heavier particle, for macroscopic bodies, we cannot observe it. For non-relativistic particles which have velocity much less than c, like we have the velocity, even orthostellar bodies have the velocity much less than c, for all those particles we cannot observe de Broglie wavelength. So this question can have the so many ways, and you should know all that waves. How can we explain it? So you have to use your mind only, and you have to first you must know some basic concepts, what is relativistic, what is non-relativistic case. So you must know this. So I think all the conceptual problems that are totally clear to you, what I have just wanted to tell you, what I have just wanted to explain you. I just want to give you a basic idea, a conceptual idea about the topic, and because conceptual things are very important, means without concept, so you cannot solve the numericals. So first I just taken that. So I think I have told you that today I'll not be able to explain you the numerical problems. So let's see the numerical problems in next class. Today the conceptual problems, all the which I have just wanted to explain you, that is ended here. So with the end of the conceptual problem, actually there is not ending of conceptual problem, just I am ending this. So let's end the class here, guys. Thank you.